Hugo's Dreamland, Area 51, by Richard L. Elsliger. As I write these words, I remain baffled how it came to pass that my efforts to reveal the truth had failed. My name is Hugo, not my real name, of course, and I worked at a military base, a little private place called Area 51. We sometimes called it Dreamland, and for good reason. I live in fear now, watching over my shoulder every day of my life, and I regret the decision I made that fateful day in 1997 to reveal this truth. In the end, it made no difference. No one believed it. In fact, the blatant fraudsters and their so-called proofs received more airtime than any amount of evidence I produced. I was ignored as a crackpot by the very few that actually saw my presentation, yet from that point on, I was forced to live a life on the run. But let me say this, no one has ever debunked my proof. No one. The year was 1997, a hot summer as I recall, for the enchanted and magical state of Nevada. By this time, the state had already racked up quite a history of gold rushes, gambling casinos, and nuclear bomb test sites, along with the occasional mob hit over turf wars and unpaid gambling debts. Such dissonant factors provided quite a combination of unusual bedfellows for the state. The addition of secretive Area 51 in 1955, known then as the Paradise Ranch, only multiplied the mystique to the point of scaring people. Sprinkle rumors about aliens held captive at Area 51, and the Nevada perception became otherworldly, a place extracted from another dimension. I enjoyed a high-level security clearance at Area 51 and the companion facility known as S4 as one of their most trusted employees. I knew all about our captured alien craft, and I also knew about our alien captives. I can best describe 1997 as a year in transition for Area 51. There was a lot of turmoil and many shakeups throughout the various units and divisions, a changing of the old guard, as it were, and also a change in technology. We possessed hundreds of hours of videotape documenting our interviews with the alien greys, as we called them. I was present during much of the questioning, all of which occurred at Area S4 in the interrogation suite situated underground. Such questioning occurred in dimmed lighting conditions, for the aliens were sensitive to light, an evolutionary characteristic we determined. In time we learned that they came from a binary star system capable only of generating much dimmer light on their home world when compared to the brilliance of our own sun. This explained their drab gray skin and large dark eyes, all of which conformed to the many encounters described over the centuries, as evidenced in the literature and even on cave wall paintings created by our ancient ancestors. The alien beings were not capable of speech. They communicated exclusively through telepathy. I was therefore tasked to locate people with strong telepathic abilities, and this I accomplished through anonymous newspaper advertisements in various major cities. I sifted through many inquiries and performed many tests. Not having telepathic abilities myself made my job all the more difficult, but I created a battery of tests designed in such a way that proved or debunked the test takers' abilities. I was able to hone the selection down to 3 recruits, and from there we conducted arduous background checks before they received their high-level security clearances. I specifically chose those candidates who had no family connections for obvious reasons. The selected were mobile, free to uproot their lives and move to Nevada without reticence for such a decision. Once on board, they were given military ranks and became part of the program. Believe me, when they learned why they had been selected, none of them wanted to return to their old life, and they became immersed irrevocably into Area 51. Sometimes it was difficult to get them to go home when off the clock. They preferred to sleep at the base and discuss the alien telepathic transmissions with each other, which we discouraged. Many of the interrogations, or shall I say questioning sessions, would last 2 to 3 hours at a time. We made some progress, learning the alien point of origin using star charts. Their home world orbited the Zeta Reticuli binary star system, a pair of stars actually visible to our unassisted eyes during dark nights. The twin stars were 39.3 light years from Earth, and visually they sat low in our southern hemisphere, visible without a telescope. When we questioned them on their technology, we made considerably less progress. I always had the suspicion, along with a few of my other colleagues, that the aliens were withholding information. They did not want us learning their advanced ways, but can I blame them? When one thinks about how we behave as a species, all of our wars and destruction, Perhaps the aliens had justifiable reasons for withholding highly advanced technology from us. But then again, perhaps the telepaths were the ones withholding information for their own end gains, or they were failing to understand the communications relayed to them. The one alien we interrogated most heavily was one of two creatures that came from a ship that crashed in the Kalahari Desert back in 1989. It is said that their ship had been shot down by the South African Air Force using an experimental laser cannon. I can neither confirm nor deny. What I can attest is that two beings were recovered, of which one was brought to Area S4 in 1989, and the other is said to have died from its injuries, though once again I can neither confirm nor deny. Our alien, the one that was the subject of my smuggled video, was grilled for many sessions. I didn't get the best video footage, but instead removed one of the last interrogations where the creature actually became ill during the questioning, and medical staff intervened to assist before the video ended. The fact that I risked my life to smuggle 3 minutes of alien airtime I consider to be my greatest personal achievement, given all of the associated dangers, including getting caught and tried by a secret tribunal for treason and executed in the Nevada desert. As an aside, I have reason to believe that none of the aliens are alive at this time, each of them having perished through natural attrition or failure to adapt to our atmospheric conditions. When the DVD player arrived on the world scene, new for 1997, the decision had been made by Area 51 archival management to upgrade to a DVD format for greater security. Decades of recorded data could be stored on what we then believed to be more resilient technology, available with enhanced security features, but let me assure you that quite the opposite resulted. We needed to employ more security to protect the data from leakage to the outside world. With the proliferation of the internet, we actually hired more security in the form of private computer contractors, which demanded more spending from the Pentagon. Washington never capped our spending where alien technology was concerned, and when we asked, we always received. On Thursday night, I was summoned from my Las Vegas home and told to be at McCarran Airport for an 11:45 Janet flight to the base. That was typical protocol for high security level personnel, our work hours erratic and intermittent at times. The plane we used was an unmarked Boeing we called the Area 51 shuttle, and departures were known to leave by night at unusual hours to get us to the base, much to the hushed whispers among airport employees. They knew the plane, a white, unmarked 737-200 with a nondescript red stripe running the length of the fuselage. No airline tickets were ever issued, thereby assuring our anonymity. Airport staff and security might have known the destination, but they knew little else. At Area 51, we had our methods of secrecy. I formulated my plan well before the call to report to base, so I was ready. When the Boeing touched down at Groom Lake a mere 25 minutes later, I deplaned. A roiling tension rumbled in my stomach, but I did my best to maintain my usual deadpan face. I passed through all of the security checkpoints and went through the retinal scan, all doors opening for me. The conversion of VHS tape to the new digital format proved daunting to the audiovisual staff, and I was tasked to check periodically on their progress, though I was further engaged in the alien propulsion program and assigned to observe any new developments or breakthroughs, and to report such developments and breakthroughs with another intelligence unit within the facility. At Area 51, everything was compartmentalized, and scientists worked in pairs. No one shared information except with their assigned partner, and no one was permitted to ask anyone else about their projects and their findings. The audiovisual staff were equally compartmentalized. These were new employees, the older ones retired in favor of younger minds adept at working with newer technology. This is the shakeup of which I speak that gave me that one small window of opportunity. I avoided the propulsion lab that Thursday night and concentrated my attention exclusively on the video conversions department. By this point, much of the conversions were complete thanks to the new arsenal of young employees who operated quickly and executed their work product with the utmost efficiency. I looked at one conversion and marveled at the thin circular disc, a storage device so much more advanced than the moving parts of a VHS videotape. I mused that the disc was not unlike the flying discs subject to our reverse engineering, and I wondered whether some of the inspiration for the DVD was derived from all the UFOs seen around the world for decades. The head audiovisual technician packaged up the DVDs and handed them over in a cardboard box on Friday evening after I completed my inspection rounds throughout the day at the propulsion lab, among others. None of the discs were numbered. but instead each was placed in a plastic holding tray and stuffed loosely in the box. The number of discs in the box remained unspecified, a rather surprising deviation away from our usual security. Apparently no one thought it a good idea to catalog the exact number of discs in this batch, a misstep that I counted on, and they did not disappoint. The laxness of these new employees astounded me, but this wasn't the first box of highly classified and sensitive audio-visual information passed to me and tasked to bring to central processing and archiving. I would have thought security might have corrected the first transgression, which gave me pause for completing my plan, but the organization was presently in free fall, apathetic to any concern for orderly governance and systems checks. In essence, such checks and balances were temporarily non-existent during the transition phase. For me, the constellations were in their proper alignment that night to pull off my heist. I thanked the technician for the box of DVDs, and I left the building to bring the conversions to archiving. I was acutely aware of our security cameras around the base, and I knew with mathematical precision where each of them was positioned. I momentarily disappeared off camera to use a restroom, and in the stall is where I reached in and grabbed a random disc, sliding it into my inner suit coat pocket. Military or not, the highest ranked were required to wear suits, and I was no exception. As I have always believed, one should never underestimate the power of a suit, both to intimidate and in this instance to conceal something of monolithic importance to the world. I brought the packaged DVDs to archives and handed the discs to someone I called a librarian, and he took them with no written chain of custody, no documentary evidence of who handled what and when. My personal task of smuggling the alien data proved so easy. I prepared to leave Friday night on another mystery flight back to McCarran Airport, and that is when my nerves unraveled. A security breach spread like a California wildfire and reached our 737 Janet flight before we could taxi down the runway and leave Groom Lake. My heart wanted to rip itself apart with an aortic dissection and gush blood from my throat. They found me. I'd been discovered. Area 51 security boarded the plane, and they headed down the aisle toward the rear of the plane where I sat. I preferred the rear seat by the tail as the safest part of the plane in the event of a crash, for this is how I lived my life. I analyzed everything before making decisions, and now my decision to abscond with a DVD was bringing my life to an end as I knew it. Security detail approached my row, and much to my surprise and incredible relief, they passed me by and seized the flight attendant. They cuffed her and escorted her from the plane, and then we were good to fly. What her transgression might have been, I did not know, nor at this point did I care. I reached into my suit coat pocket to verify the presence of my DVD, that I hadn't lost it somewhere, and felt reassurance when I touched its rigid outline. I might have been branded a traitor by the Department of Naval Intelligence, the one who signed my paycheck, but I still prided myself on my fastidiousness when setting out to execute on a task, or in this case, a mission, to inform the world of alien life. I had a strong aversion to screw-ups, and Area 51 regarded me as one of their finest. I breathed a sigh when we touched down at McCarran at 3 in the morning. I took a taxi back to my apartment with the prize. Now I was a turncoat, a traitor, a spy with highly classified evidence, and as a result, I carried the weight of guilt for what I did, but I deemed it necessary that civilization should know about life outside our solar system, that it was unfair to withhold such vital information, and I was a self-anointed emissary to blow the lid off of this needless secrecy. I planned it well, having bought a gateway computer to reconvert the digital information back to VHS. I spent the rest of Saturday making the conversion so that I could edit out the voices of all concerned. It would have been highly inappropriate to jeopardize the anonymity of anyone else involved in the project, so the videotape would need to be silent in its presentation. When I finished the conversion, I hid the DVD in a place I am not at liberty to disclose, but let me assure all parties concerned that the original is well hidden and no one, not even the government, will ever find it should I mysteriously disappear one day. With my VHS reconversion, I approached a major news outlet by way of an anonymous call, advising them of the startling video in my possession, yet they declined. They told me they were already in enough trouble for having aired an alien autopsy that turned out to be an absolute hoax, and they had no interest in compounding their problem with my videotape. I called several more premier news outlets, and I was startled at the absolute lack of interest to even preview the video for its veracity, never mind give it airtime. I finally happened upon a third-tier company called Missile Productions, and they jumped on the videotape. Bear in mind that I still reported to Area 51 during this time, and I flew the shuttle to Groom Lake on a regular basis. I lived in fear during every visit, but no one questioned me about any missing DVD, and no one suspected me of anything at that stage. When I gave the interview on Missile Productions and turned over the tape with a detailed narration about the alien interrogation, all hell broke loose when the show aired on a local television program in Southern California. Though my face was shadowed and my voice modulated, those techniques did not provide the anonymity I had hoped for. When I received the call to come to the base at 2 o'clock in the morning, I knew why. I played along and told my superiors I would see them soon, and then I disappeared from Las Vegas and then the whole state of Nevada in a matter of hours, leaving no trace of me. When I failed to show up on the Groom Lake flight, I am certain that is when they put the hit out on me, and I have been on the run ever since. I have lived in many different states since that moment in my life. I have changed my hairstyle and hair color numerous times, grown a beard and taken various anonymous jobs. I must say that my life has changed for the worse. If I could do it over again, I would never have taken that DVD from the box. I would have left it alone and gone about my job. My high expectations for the video becoming a world phenomenon were dashed, and in time the tape fell into obscurity. Now it shows up on occasion through the internet, but nothing more. Those that did see the video upon its initial release mostly scoffed at it, saying the alien was a puppet, despite the fact that none of the so-called Hollywood experts from that time frame were capable of creating any puppet or animatronics that remotely looked or behaved like the alien in my video. These so-called experts with their unconvincing movie-driven animatronics disgusted me. As for the eyes of the alien, one can clearly see the eye sockets change in shape and diameter as the interview progressed, but none of the so-called experts ever made any reference to that crucial detail, nor did they reference the opening and closing of its mouth or its heart rate monitor. When the doctors came in to treat the distressed alien, no mention was ever made of the telepath turning his head away from the flashlights brought in by the doctors. I am fed up with the world and everyone in it. People complain about cover-ups, but when the truth is revealed and placed at their feet with clear documentary evidence, they find a reason to deny what they see. No amount of evidence will convince the doubting public about our alien visitors. I have nothing further. Make up your own minds whether what I say has any credence. Look at the video and decide for yourself. You are the arbiters of truth and not some animatronics paid consultant who has no idea what they saw on the video. All I can do is present the facts. Whatever you decide, it is of no consequence to me. My conscience is clear. I did what I had to do and sacrificed the quality of my life to do it. I have another plan should I live long enough to follow through. Do I still have an insider at Area 51? You can be certain of that. Do you think your government hides things from you? Make up your own minds. My next plan is even bigger, and when it comes to fruition, the world will shudder at what they see. No government or animatronics dummy will be capable of hiding the light of this one truth, that aliens are among us.